and we'll log him in that way. I think that will work. Is it working?
It says preparing. I said go live and I clicked it.
Okay, so now I got it.
So.
Okay, so
Do I
now,
not need to do it?
now you're here. See, now it brings you up on YouTube.
Oh, history.
Oh, no, history. Nope.
Since the last one.
Nope. Oh, we didn't.
Oh, wait, do I do a right click? No. So. Okay,
Left
sure.
click.
Wait.
Left click.
They are hitting it with heavy guns tonight. Hello, Gary.
Hi, Erica. We're having a conversation. I've attached all of the information I have on the home insurance and our first payment statement. Also, here is the phone number for our customer service. 800-365-4441. Once again, I'm deeply saddened by your loss. My thoughts and prayers are with you and family. Please let me know if I can provide any additional information or assistance. Lastly, I'll be reaching out to my customer service team and asking if they can provide any assistance associated with mortgage. Sincerely, Michael. Lastly, I'll be reaching out to my customer service team.
Hey, Bev, I miss your Anzac cookies.
Miss baking them every day, I tell you. I like your view. How did you do that?
Thank you. Actually, in Zoom, you can put backgrounds of anything you want on it. Did you know that? Any photo.
I did not know that.
If you go up to where it says preferences under the drop-down menu, you can go in and you can choose. They have a couple of standard that come with it. You can upload any photo. You can even put movies behind it. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah. So, let's see what we got here. You can blur the background, put all sorts of things. My favorite.
That's kind of, oh, there you go. I got an angelic thing going on there.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
Yeah.
We're gathering quite a crowd tonight. I'm real pleased. We hear you coming, Don. Ah, we hear you coming. Am I on audio now? Hey, this might work out.
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, if staff is ready, Paula, are we ready?
Just a moment.
Okay.
I'll let him go ahead and
Okay, all right, we're set now. Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna call the Historic Landmark Commission to order on this 27th day of July, 28th day of July. Where's the 27th? 28th day of July. And I'm going to ask Paula, will you have a head count here for the commission members? I just see a bare minimum of a quorum.
Well, Commissioner Gleason said he may not be able to join us. I have not heard from Commissioner Ercole.
Did I miss something? I'm waiting for you to make roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bev Aggie,
Present.
Forrest Ercole is absent. Eric Gleason is absent. Doug Leash,
Here.
Bob McNary,
Here.
Julie Reynolds,
Present.
and Scott Randall.
Present.
Thank you.
Unless I've missed my rules and regulations, the people that we really are concerned of is the 5 members of the commission. We have 3, so we have established a quorum. I am glad to see all these other faces, though. We must have a hot button object tonight. Who amongst you would like to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance? Anyone can open, you're all on the mic, so if we have a flag in the very background up there, so we can arise and stand at attention. And do I hear a volunteer that says they'd like to lead us? Doug? Where are you?
Okay,
All right.
I'll do it.
Okay.
We're standing. Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
And
Republic.
for which it stands,
stands one nation
under
under
God,
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, if they leave us on Zoom long enough, we'll get that one figured out. Thank you, Doug. Have you had an opportunity to review the agenda? And I would like to have a motion to approve the agenda or amend it or something.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
I second the motion.
If there's no further question, all in favor, please say aye.
I,
Okay, Paula, is that good enough for you, or do you need a hand wave? Oh, I lost my recorder.
I need hands raised. I did notice that Commissioner Ercole just joined us as well.
Okay, do you need a hand wave or is just a verbal approval of our commission good enough for you to make your records come out right?
That's fine. Thank you.
All right, I'll try again. How about the approval of the minutes from the June 23rd, 2021 meeting of the Historic Landmarks? I'm hoping that you've had a chance to review them, and I'm hoping that we're going to get a motion here to approve them or amend them. So we're doing fine. We've got one motion out of this tonight. Let's see if we can get 2.
I move that we approve the minutes as written.
I second the motion.
If there's no further question, we will vote. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay. Now I'm going to jump in here and kind of, we have, hey, hi there, Forrest. Good to see you.
Hi, Bob.
We have a person that has been our link to the city council that we haven't had a privilege to attend a meeting, and I'm proud to have him here. Scott Randall, if you got anything that you want to confirm, tell us who you are, introduce yourself any further?
Thank you, Chairman McNary. Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate the tolerating my absence from these meetings. I'm not able to make them on a regular basis, but I have been reading the agendas and following the meetings on YouTube and reporting back to City Council the results of those hearings. So happy to be here.
I didn't mean to play you down for that. I know you have a job, but I didn't know if the other people even knew who you was, and so that's why I was trying to point you out. We do have a lot of other honored guests here tonight, and we'll let them kind of fit into the program as the program goes along. We are now open for staff comments according to our agenda, and she's going to tell us things that are in the future, things in the past, and all those sort of things. So Don, where'd you go? I lost your picture.
Audio here, sorry. Okay, sorry, I don't know what's going on with my audio here. So in terms of, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. It's a little bit better now. Here we go. Okay. Perfect. Can you guys, whoops, see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe not. That was weird. Sure. There we go. Okay. So, welcome. We have staff comments. I just wanted to give you an update or give the commission an update. A final design has been submitted by the GMAs, and this was based on your approval for HLC 187-21. And as you can see, she followed suit as to what she stated to you. What her hope was to do a cherry tree to be interactive. So the cherry tree includes the swing, some oversized cherries, as well as lower to the ground wings that could be interactive not only for young children, but also for pets. So pretty cool. I thought you guys would like to see that. The next one I wanted to kind of go over a little bit, coming on our end of our grant ends the end of August. And as you remember or recall, there were some changes, drastic changes that were made due to the COVID pandemic, and staff was able to determine that we could take the money or not lose those monies that SHPO had granted us, and instead of doing a workshop, put that money towards an altogether the Dalles table book. So we'd already had the AutoCast walking tour. We are going to be next week, that will be going live, and then I'll be finishing all my documentation. I just kind of gave you guys an idea of what that app looks like when you open it. It has an aerial photo, and you can kind of see down here. This is just our mock-up. You can also go to a map view, and if you're standing somewhere or you're in a car, you can click on that location and say, I want to go here. It kind of has a hover tool. That gives you a photo of the historic structure, which is basically the rendering or the photo that is included in the altogether the Dalles mural. And then it also includes some narrative. And Carl Vakuterin, bless his heart, has been working very diligently to get the narratives completed for a few of the walking tour apps. As you can all see at the very bottom, where there is like a play button. We do have that as a placeholder now because we did not set aside time and or funds, which it doesn't sound like it's going to cost us anything more. I guess we just have to find the right person to do the narrative. So it'd actually be an audio button. So it would be accessible for many, and you'd basically push the button. It can be the story that we're telling in the narrative, or it can be an additional option. One thing I did fail to recall or remind or let everyone know is Carolyn Wood, I think she is in the audience tonight. She has been very diligently editing for Carl's blogs, which then were turned into the narratives that are included with this project. Again, this project includes the book, the table book, that's going to be ready for publication. That publication is actually what we call an on-demand publication. So you would be able to go online, purchase it for a fee. They would then publish it and mail it. Working with the Dalles Art Center, Scott Stevenson will probably have some in and available at the Art Center for people to come in and buy too, but we haven't determined that yet. So that is technically all I have right now for staff comments. Do you have any questions of me?
Hearing no questions from any of the commissioners, I think we'll go down to the commissioners. Doug, how's things look just up the street from me? If you noticed anything that we as a historic landmark commission should be thinking about?
I haven't noticed. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Well, this
Am I
is
missing something?
your opportunity to blow your horn a little bit about your St. Peter's landmark too, you know, if you wanted to.
Oh, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing all right. We're short on docents. But if I drive by and somebody's standing out there, I take them in. I just stop and take them in. That's happened 3 times this month already. Well, it's almost the end of the month, but.
You got anything further you want to add to your monthly report?
No, I don't think so. Just if anybody knows docents people that like to get involved taking people through the landmark, we'd love to have them.
Bev, you're right beside Doug on my screen, so I'll just pick you as next. If you got involved in something that's historic that the rest of us should be aware of?
Well, I occasionally do a tour at the landmark. I sit on the porch with Mr. Eggy and my wiener dogs, and if I see someone with out-of-state license plate looking and taking pictures, I'll get up and I'll tag Doug in if he's there, or I'll take him through. And we got a little notice yesterday we do the Trevitt House Airbnb. We've been doing it for 3 years. And we got a little notice from Airbnb. They chose the top 300 most hospitable Airbnbs. And the top one in Oregon was in Newburgh, but it sounded like we were number 2, but we might have just been amongst the others. And anyway, it sounded like a nice compliment. And they asked if we wanted to be interviewed, and we said sure. So I don't know what'll happen with that, but apparently Mr. Eggy and I are nice and friendly to our guests, so that makes us happy. And it's super busy, so that's a good thing.
Thank you very much. Forrest, you're sitting down there looking handsome and a little bit hairy, but that's all right. What do you got to tell us?
Actually, I have nothing to report at this time, Bob.
Well,
Thank you for the compliment.
Are you stealing my thunder? I haven't seen anything that has been extraordinary. I was kind of glad in the short interval that we thought we were getting over the pandemic. Now I'm understanding, though, that there will be a Wasco County Fair, so that's a good sign that we're getting back to where we was. If we've taken care of our commissioner comments,
Oh, I'll have a comment.
certainly.
I was the docent yesterday at St. Peter's, and much to my amazement, I had 19 people come.
Oh,
And
wow.
most of the time, it's 2 or 3 or maybe 5. But
Yes.
yesterday, and they were all in, there were groups, 2 groups from the ship that was in, and 2 groups of 3. And then the others were, there was a single and a couple, and it was varied. One lady had traveled across the United States. She was returning home to the valley, but she had been to a church in Savannah, and she's Georgia, which was a spectacular Gothic style, and she showed me the pictures and it was amazing. But she said, when I saw this one on the list as a must see, I wanted to stop and see it. I was so glad you were open. And she was very pleased with the St. Peter's. She also said it's a top must see on a list. And I had another guest say the same thing. It was a must see in the Dalles. So I was glad to hear that some of our advertising's getting out. Anyway,
Carolyn,
yes,
Carolyn, I need you to state your name and address for the record. Sorry.
Carolyn Wood, 1709 Liberty Way.
Thank you.
I'm only following the written word, and it called for commissioners meeting, and I don't mean to ignore anyone that have wonderful news like Carolyn has just delivered to us. So if there's someone that has something, I don't see any place on our printed agenda for the public to come in, but let's give them a chance. If they're here, let's give them a chance. Somebody else got something that they would like to say? The mic is open.
I'm the representative for the Fort Dalles Museum,
Yeah.
and I'm going to train to be a docent up there. And we could sure use more docents too. I'm a board member. So anybody who's interested, it's fun.
Thank you.
Bob,
Yeah.
this is Doug. I would add that I took a couple through last week, and when we were talking, I mentioned the altar was Carrara marble from Italy, and this woman was from Italy and lived very near where they mine that Carrara marble. So that was kind of neat. She knew all about it.
See, I don't want to call a school teacher a slow starter, but I think you did well there, Doug. You did really well. Okay, if we're done with comments, we're going to go through a real boring section here because Bob's going to have to read the rules in order. Now is the time for a public hearing by the Historic Landmark Commission to conduct a public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing is to consider the following matter, and that is application HLC 190-21, Mark Paul, 311 Union Street. And the request is to replace the entrance doors, remove exterior lighting on the second floor, and restore the balcony railing above the door in the southwest facing West 3rd Street, as well as adding a porch roof and a railing and a southwest facing Union Street. My, okay. Those are the things that are going to be on this agenda. This public hearing is required by law and certain rules apply. First and foremost, you must be recognized by the chair in order to speak and present testimony. When recognized by the chair, please proceed to the microphone and state your name and mailing address for the record. This hearing is required to be tape recorded. Generally, the public hearing procedure is as follows. Prior to the public hearing, a determination will be made of the qualifications of the commission members and allow for challenges from the audience. Hearing none of those, I will open the public hearing with a staff report. The purpose of the staff report at this point is to further identify the adaptable criteria of the case being considered and provide background information about the case. After the staff report, we will hear testimony from proponents, those in favor, persons in favor of the application. Next, there will be testimony from the opponent, those not in favor of the application. Next, there will be testimony from anyone who wishes to offer testimony or ask questions. And then, in honor of the right to rebuttal, we will again hear from those in favor of the application. Just be careful, that's only page 1. To expedite the hearing, the commission members may ask questions of the persons as they testify. When this procedure has been concluded, we will close the public testimony portion of the hearing. During the hearing, some important standards apply. First of all, those who testify must hold their testimony to the decision criteria. As in all land use hearings, there are complete sets of rules, procedures, and criteria we must follow. Second, failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the commission members and their parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes the appeal of the Land Use Board of Appeal based on that issue. Third, the failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues related to the proposed condition of approval with detailed specifications enough to allow the city to respond to the issue precludes an action for damage in the circuit court. Fourth, prior to the conclusion of the public hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence, arguments, or testimony regarding the application. If such a request is made, the law states that the commission must grant the request by either continuing the hearing to a time and date at least 7 days from the date of the initial hearing, or the record must be kept open for the period for at least 7 days. Those are the rules. Now, if anyone has any questions about the qualification or the apatre contracts, conflict of interest, or bias that would not allow them to render impartial decisions. Any member of the commission. I guess I narrowed that down. Do we have anyone that wants to declare partiality? Hearing none, I'm going to go on. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to check the qualifications of any of the members of the commission? Hearing none. The public hearing is now open. Thank you. Dawn. Am I the only person in the world?
Thank you, Chair McNary. Great job. So as you stated, this application is numbered 190-21. Applicant is Mr. Mark Powell, who is in the audience today, and hopefully we'll get Mark to add a little bit to my staff report. Mark is requesting for approval to replace the entrance doors, remove exterior lights that are non-historic, and restore the balcony railing on the facade that is facing 3rd Street, as well as adding a porch roof on the railing in the facade that's facing Union Street. Property is located at 311 Union. It's located in the CBC 1 district, which is Central Business Commercial, that is located in National Historic District. That means it's in the Downtown Commercial Historic District. The property is used as commercial, and its historic status is that it's a primary resource in our Commercial Historic District. Notification was made, published advertisements in the local newspaper, as well as property owners within 100 feet and the State Historic Preservation Office. As of the date of this application or of the meeting, we had not received any public comments to date. Staff is recommending approval with conditions based upon following our findings of fact. The application, so in terms of the location, corner of 3rd and Union, I think most of us know, it for many years was used or known as the 2nd courthouse. It also was used as Smith Calloway Chapel, and obviously most recently known as the Masonic Temple on the 2nd floor, as well as Clock Tower Ales. The Italian Villa was constructed in 1883, and again is a primary resource in the historic district. Just want to show you guys some existing conditions. So alterations, there were some major alterations in '94 when the building was registered. Those non-historic alterations were, and then there were some that were in, when it was landmarked, it had major alterations. Those have since, most of those have been removed. The applicant's plan is to do additional restoration with this application and continue to bring it back to its original glory. So existing conditions in showing you the lighting. So this was lighting that was added on after. Here is the balcony or railing system that will be added to above. I'm pointing, I can't use my finger, sorry. And then here again, a little bit more of a close-up of that lighting and a side angle of that lighting, as well as giving you a good view of that ornate railing there, or lack of railing. On Union Street facade, this is the area that is the request to add the porch covering. And this kind of applicant provided a couple of photos showing a little bit different views and kind of close-ups. One thing that I absolutely love about this building is probably because it was a courthouse, it was photographed pretty regularly, and Mark has been a wonderful collector of these historic photos. This one is just amazing to me. It's an 1884 photo, obviously showing that entrance that way there and not seeing the doors at the time, but you can see some of the Italian ornate work right above that door. Here's another photo that was early 1900s. It kind of gives you a little bit better idea of what the door looked like then. Obviously, it looks like something other than asphalt paving roads. And then the main entrance, is on 3rd Street, and then Union is what we know now as the main entrance to that building. Another photo, early 1900s, that shows a little bit more. It shows the railing here that will be replaced. We don't really have a good photo of this in the older photos on the Union Street facade, but here we do. So this was when Smith Callaway had operated the building, and you can see this photo is phenomenal. I think Mrs. Smith, I'm not sure, I'm assuming from Smith Callaway is who provided this, or that Mark received it from. Also, you can see some railing here. The railing was removed at that time in 48, so that the plans will be to replace that. And here's a little bit more of a close-up for the Union Street entrance. And another one for West 3rd facade. And you can see some of the balcony there. Proposed work includes the new entrance doors, and this is on the 3rd Street facade. It is shown that these doors that are existing at the site are not the original doors for the facility or for the building. And what Mr. Pella is proposing is something a little bit more ornate, made of steel and custom made for that door opening. And I will let Mr. Powell explain a little bit more about what his plans are for the interior, and just the way that I would describe it is he wants to treat it more like a window looking into that building so that people can truly enjoy and see that historic building on the insides. Here are a couple other options. Excuse me, let me go back. This is the choice that Mark would like, or the applicant would like, but he does also have provided additional options for the commission to take a look at and potentially consider. I provided a little bit of a mock-up here showing what is current and what was shown on historic photos so that you can get a little bit of an idea. It's kind of nice to see them rather than try to remember. So I'm looking to redesign this to be as close to original, obviously still not be exact, but try to replicate that and put it on top of that entrance. Lighting, non-historic, again, that'll be removed. And then here's our current entrance on Union Street. And then this is what was there in the 40s. So there'll be something similar to that. And Mr. Powell can give you guys a little bit more detail. Again, I just provided a couple more showing the location and where that actually fit. So it kind of just nestled right there. You can actually kind of see the brick looks like it's a little bit different color there. So that it may have been hidden. Staff is recommending approval of this application, approval of application 190-21, and I've provided 8 conditions of approval that deal with ensuring that the final product is in conformance to the pictures and proposals that were submitted and reviewed, that natural colors be retained, and that the modification of the facade does not alter the essential form or integrity of the building. As well as requirements for going to Wasco County building codes, cleaning regulations that we have put on every application, talking about deteriorating historical features to repair rather than replace. And then in terms of replacement materials, they need to be in compatibility or be compatible in color, texture, quality, finish, and dimensions to the original. And then the final one that we do add is that applicant is required to notify the Community Development Department of any alteration to these approved plans. So that concludes my staff report. Do you have any questions of staff?
I am not hearing none. I think it's been a very good presentation, Don. And unless someone has something else to say, I'd like to call the proponent and ask him if he would like to glorify this just a little bit. Mr. Paul was sitting around there a minute ago, but I've lost him right this minute. Oh, here he is. His conference room, Mr. Powell. There we go.
Yes. Can you hear me?
You can't speak. I'll be quiet.
Very good. So yes, it's just
Excuse me, Mr. Powell, you need to state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Mark Powell. My mailing address is P.O. Box 896, the Dalles, Oregon.
Thank you.
Very good. So yes, just another chapter of restoring the building a little bit more back to historically correct. And then also given an opportunity for people driving by on 3rd Street to look into the entrance of what would be the courtroom there. I'm doing the inside of that room or the steps that go up to the 2nd floor to look historically correct as well. So when they peer in, there will be a chandelier and the appropriate flooring and leather couches, and of course spittoons and everything to make it proper for the age. And then also, of course, for the door, just to make it more weatherproof. Right now, the wind and everything just blows right through that door. It's pretty much paper thin on that part there. And then, of course, restoring that outside, the balcony, just all the key features to get it back historically correct is the plan. And then the little porch covering on the Union Street side. Of course, that was put on into the 30s and 40s era there when it was a funeral home. Of course, it still has the original holes of where the boards were anchored into the building, and we plan on using the exact same anchor points, so we don't have to do anything new holes or new complications of attaching it to the building. And we're ultimately going to try to make it a little bit more freestanding, so we don't have to attach barely anything to the building to keep the building pure there. And of course, that would benefit the pub quite a bit. So when people walk in, they don't get rain dumped on their head quite so bad. So a couple of key things to benefit the business, and also more importantly, the building itself, so it can last another 120 years, 140 years and keep going.
Any one of the commissioners have a question they would like to ask of Mr. Paul at this point?
I don't have a question, but I think it's admirable that Mark is willing to spend the time and money to bring it back closer to what it originally was.
Oh, thank you. It's been quite an adventure doing all the history and research on that building, from the last public hanging to the recreation yard for the prisoners in the back, and finding things that were bricked up over the years, and finding the history of like the jail door. And so yeah, it's been a fun adventure, and this is our next step, and we're hoping at the same time when we do these additions, we'll be able to paint the window trim for the 2nd floor, and also the eaves, and get a coat of paint on the main part of the building. And then knock on wood, we're hoping for some possible plans of the clock tower restoration next spring or summer and stuff. So I've been in talks with some people that are looking to help out with that financially and resources. And so yeah, we're hoping within the next year, things will be looking pretty polished.
Anyone? Pardon me?
I'd like to thank him for all he's doing for the history downtown, and I think he's doing a marvelous job. It's a huge asset to our little town. When tourists come and see what's available, when the clock tower opens again, that was a real And just the building itself and the actual clock tower is just a landmark. It's wonderful. I love it. Keep up the good work.
Good, thank you.
Or if you haven't spoke up, I know you're here. If you have anything you want to ask Mr. Powell while he is in the hot seat.
I have no questions at this time.
Thank you. That's what I needed to know. Now we have an opportunity that we've heard proponent from someone that might not be in favor of this. And all we can ask if you'll speak up and identify yourself, we'll gladly have this. So is there anybody that's not real pleased with this plan? Speak up. Well, that leaves us in a very precarious procedure. I pointed our procedure here because we go back to Mr. Powell. You've got to defend yourself against somebody that wants to confuse you. So, is there any questions that anybody wants to ask specifically before I close the public hearing? Doug, you're getting feed from someone.
No, I think you've done a good job of presenting it and sounds good to me.
If there's no further questions of this proponent at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing and we will confer amongst the commissioners. We will retain the right to ask questions of staff if they arise. And at this point, the public hearing for this particular item on their agenda is closed. And now we are in commission discussion. I should have asked staff, I guess, how much option that we want to give Mr. Powell in picking the doors that he thinks would be the most appropriate. I have no quorum over which door out of the three I think that we saw, but
I like the one he chose with the fleur-de-lis, the little curly ironwork. I think it's perfect. I mean, I think that's the picture you have there, Dawn.
Correct.
I love that one. I think it's great. That would be my choice.
And here's option 2 and 3 also.
Don, do we get to help him make this choice? Or?
Yeah, if you guys want, that is what, I mean, this obviously is what he's requesting. Originally, I believe he shared this one here with me. So, I mean, once he explained it to me, I understood it. I, like Bev, believe that this would offer an opportunity to glance in there. It would also differentiate from what may have been there historically and, just kind of provide a framing of what's going to, a looking in at the old historic courthouse and what happened in that main area there. So it's kind of up to you guys. But yeah, those are the options.
Part of the reason why I chose this particular door here that you have up now, with the scroll work, that kind of complements the scroll work that's right above the door, the woodworking and the railing.
Let me get there. Sorry, Mark.
On that there, and then also the heavy rivets on it gives it that 1880s look because things weren't welded back in the day. It was all riveted, which also kind of ties into the jail door that we have in by the bathrooms there of the pub. And
well, Commissioner, what do you want to do? You want to help him make this decision, or do you want to turn that over to the owner and let him pick the door, or how do you want to handle it? Because that's got to be part of our discussion.
Well, I think that the design that he's chosen, I like it. The one where there's two, the one on the left-hand side would be my second choice, but I certainly have no problem with that one that he would like to use. I think we ought to give him the discretion to use it. That one.
I agree, Doug. I really like the one with the scrolling.
I like that one as well. It kind of makes a little heart at the bottom almost. It's welcoming.
It is a heart.
It's kind of confusing me to look at the picture of the white U in the LU until I finally deciphered that was on the, from the manufacturer, because it shows up.
That is correct. Copyrighted, exclusive, I believe is what the brand is.
Okay, we got half of our job done. Is there any other comments? He's trying to restore the balcony over the 3rd Street side, and I'm sure he's gonna use as close to real materials that, if possible, the materials that we used originally. Over on the Union Street side, do you have any comments to make on restoring the entrance there and putting a little roof over the door and all that sort of stuff? Is there any comments that you want to make there? The picture looks wonderful, but boy, that's going to be tough to duplicate. Am I here alone? Hearing no comments about how you want to help him, would someone like to make a motion that we approve this application with the conditions of approval?
I would move that we approve application 190-21 with the recommendations below 1 through 8.
I second that motion.
May I add one thing to your thinking there, Doug?
Certainly.
We should probably put some kind of wording in there about the door choice. How can we amend your motion to give the order?
Well, it could be added as number 9, possibly, that we agree with using the door that he would like to use with the metal work,
The scrolling.
if you think it's necessary.
So Chair McNary, I think that obviously the applicant provided 3 options, but his number 1 option is what I went with. So if you were going to choose one of the other doors, I think we should amend it. But I believe with what he submitted as his primary choice, it would not need an additional condition. That would be what was submitted and requested.
Thank you, Don.
You
It's
bet.
much simpler that way. I just didn't know what the procedure would be picking out. Okay, your motion has been made and the motion has been seconded. If there's no further discussion, I will call for a raising of your right hand and we will say all in favor. Can we raise our hand?
Aye.
Okay, now I could ask for opponents, but we don't have any, so anybody left. So the motion has been passed. And that will close 1/2 of our application for the day.
So Chairman McNary, I
Yeah.
do need to ask Paula, have we had anyone enter the Zoom meeting since the rules of the public hearing have been read?
No, we have not.
Perfect. Okay, Bob, you may proceed without having to go through the whole rigmarole again.
And
Okay,
we're going to try to cover that right now.
there you go.
Looking through our thing, we should not have to reread the rules. We are going to now debate or discuss or follow whatever for Historic Landmark Commission 191 application, not 191-21. And this is Columbia Gateway Urban Renewal Agency. They're scattered all over town. 401, 407 East 2nd Street. The request, and it is a request to demolish a non-contributing historic building. So, having read all those rules through, I am saying that we can open the hearing, but I am going to reserve the right to ask a technical question. So please help me, Don.
So, Mr. McNary, I do need you to ask if any commissioner has had any ex parte contact or if they have any biases or conflicts that would not allow them to render an impartial decision, because this is a new application.
Okay.
Please.
Yes, ma'am. Has anyone got a conflict of interest on this particular application? If they have, please speak up now. Is there anything other than that? If you're non-biased, we're all pleased and we're going to go on. But I'm still retaining my right to ask you a question, Dawn. May I have it now?
Absolutely.
I am a little bit unacquainted with all the rules and regulations of the Historic Landmark Commission. But this is the first time that I've ever had an experience of sitting through demolishing a building that is not historic according to our records. It is an historic district, but it is not a building that is on our records as being historic.
Okay.
So we go through quite a bit of conversation at other demolitions, holding up the procedure for the 30 days and all this sort of stuff because they got to make one more effort to see if they can't find. Are we going to go through all that again tonight?
So
this building is not historic. We can't restore the historic nature of it. So I'm just wondering why we're sitting here.
So you are correct. This property is located, and this building is located in our National Historic District, and it is actually considered a non-contributing historic. So it does have the historic title. Even if it wasn't, so let's say it was non-contributing, non-historic, it would still have to go before the Historic Landmark Commission because it's located in the National Historic District. So all the criterion still apply. We do have to make findings, or that the commission has to agree with staff's findings and make a decision whether or not to approve the application for demolition and or deny and or uphold, add additional time to see if the building can be saved.
Well, my history on demolition things is that our mission for the city of the Dalles is to restore and maintain buildings that are of historic nature. And where this doesn't fit there, or see, the land's going to be there. I'm just asking, and you have answered the question with your best knowledge, and I will go on and continue the hearing.
So I do need to have you ask one more question. Can you ask if there's anyone in the audience that wishes to challenge the qualifications of any of the commissioners? Sorry.
All right. So we're back to, after I muddied up the water, we're back to asking for your staff report.
Excuse me, Chair McNary, did you open the public hearing? I
can do that. I thought I opened it, but I will do it again. This is a public hearing from Historic Landmark Commission 191-21 Columbia Gate Urban Renewal Agency from address 401 to 407 East 2nd Street. And the request is to demolish a non-contributing historic building. Is that close enough, Paula?
That's great. Thank you.
Correct.
So we're ready now, I think, Dawn, for the staff report too. We're up to go ahead.
Don't be mad at me, Bob, but can you ask the audience if anybody wants to challenge the qualifications of the commission? Sorry.
I will. Is there anyone in the audience here that would like to check the qualifications or doubts the qualifications of anybody that's on this commission? I thought I covered it. Okay. Hearing none, seeing none, we're going to say that we're all qualified and we're ready to go. Does that satisfy you, Dawn?
That is great.
I like that thumb up.
And you can open the public hearing if you'd like.
Would you open the public? Dawn is going to open the public hearing. I can announce the title again if you want.
No, you just announce declare that the public hearing is open. So I will take that lead. So thank you, Bob. I'm going to go ahead, or Chair McNary, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. And I've got lots of slides here today, and hopefully I'll try to get through these quick. As you know, I do speak fast, so definitely slow me down if somebody needs me to do so. Public hearing for is application 191-21. Applicant is Columbia Gateway Urban Renewal Agency. Address is 401 to 407 East 2nd Street. A vicinity map just to kind of give you an idea of the location. This property is located on the corner of 2nd and Federal Street. The 2 red outlines here identify those structures that are included in this application request. We did publish advertisement in a local newspaper. There's been notification to property owners within 100 feet, as well as the State Historic Preservation Office. As of the date, we did receive a couple comments here, and I might go ahead and wait until we get to the public comment section. We did receive an email, and I believe some of you commissioners did also, from Ms. Courtney Christensen. And then I also did receive today an email with a letter from Mr. John Frederick. So I'll wait and I'll comment onto those when we get to the public comment section and read them into the record. And I believe Mr. Frederick is here. He may want to do that himself. So staff is actually requesting, or is recommending approval of the request to demolish the Tony's building. As stated in the staff report, there's no historic name of this building, but it's commonly known as Tony's Town and Country. Building was rebuilt after an 1891 fire, and then which destroyed most of downtown. By 1900, the building, which there's some remnants of, did house the First National Bank, as well as an agricultural implement supply and saloon. I think most of downtown had a saloon in it at one time. 1926, an auto sales and auto repair shop was located in the building, and longtime property owners of the property were Raymond F. Kelly, which is a pretty prominent name for the Dalles. Tony Foote, Mr. Tony Foote purchased the building in '77, remodeled it, and used it as Tony's Town and Country for years, a local landmark in its own right, and it did close operations in 2016. A building was extensively remodeled, and most likely in the 70s, looking at the way that it currently does look. Urban Renewal Board has actually owned this Tony's department store building since 2016. At the time of the purchase, we were actually in the midst of negotiating with Tocqueville Properties to had interest in demolishing the building, as well as providing commercial on the main floor and residential on the second. A variety of different factors contributed to the abandonment of those plans in 2018. In 2019, agency issued another solicitation to a developer for reuse of this building. In early 2020, Urban Renewal entered into an exclusive negotiating agreement with a local entity known as the Gorge Fitness Hub. The group had hoped to reuse the building, but found after many assessments of the site, as well as some estimates that came in, that it just really did not pencil out, and it was something that was going to cost far more than it was worth to proceed. At the February 16th, 2021 meeting for Columbia Gateway Urban Renewal, the board gave the Urban Renewal Manager, which is Ms. Alice Cannon, who is going to speak on behalf of the applicant today, direction to collect cost estimates and prepare documents to obtain competitive bids for the demolition of this building. The board discussed an interest in creating a mixed-use, shovel-ready type site, which allowed for an opportunity or somebody to come in and buy that property and develop it. The board wants to consider partnering with a developer on the site that would bring in potentially new housing, like our original plan or the original plan, to our downtown. Demolition of this building would make that opportunity available for the future. Application was submitted on June 25th and deemed complete. And the following week, it was brought to staff's attention that a local citizen had reached out to one of our historic landmark commissioners about potential artifacts that had been identified in the basement. I'll just kind of get through a couple of these. Let me go back here. The commissioner relayed this information to staff immediately, and staff reached out to the State Archaeological archaeologist, Mr. John Pooley, for advice and direction. Mr. Pooley stated that given the long history of several thousands of years of people living in the Dalles, all types of archaeological objects have been documented in the city, and the probability of more is incredibly high during development. He suggested that the site be looked at an experienced archaeologist and that any artifacts are reported in the basement that have a minimum age of 75 years. A professional evaluation of the site would be warranted if it is found to have those artifacts. Staff relayed this to the applicant, and the applicant is willing to complete the necessary inspection and study if deemed necessary. Staff reviewed the findings in terms of analyzing not just our land use, our historic code, as well as our comprehensive plan, and taking a look at economic development in our downtown, specifically taking a look at Goal 5, policy number 12 states that owners of historic buildings and sites identified shall be encouraged to maintain historic integrity. And as I stated in the staff report, this building, unfortunately, before the city bought it, it was not in the best of care. So in the purchase by Urban Renewal, there are some major concerns that were discussed and presented at the June 20th, 2020 meeting. And I did include these in your packet, but just kind of taking a quick look at it, roof, HVAC, structural, asbestos, and dry rot. It was important to include the cost repair estimates. And I want everyone to keep in mind that these cost estimates were provided by an applicant that was looking to purchase. This also is back in 2020, and anybody who's familiar with the construction increase in costs for construction, partially due to COVID. I think this number would be far more today if we were to go out and get an estimate. Structural concerns, and so let me go back here. They talked about building 1 and building 2 and the costs that were associated with repairs. I wanted to point out some of these other structural concerns, cut or removed post beams, tie rods. Those costs were not included in that cost on the last sheet. Another thing that was not included was crumbling basalt foundation. So those were not included in that estimate. Another thing that was not included were structural concerns, undermining and cracked footings in the wall. Some of these main here. And then kind of going through those that were given estimates, structural concerns, failing brickwork, just over 77,000. Again, these are prices from 2020. Structural concerns, 5,200. Structural concerns, again, dry rot, you're dealing with 52,000. Removal of rotten members only, and an estimated basically 148,000 for repair and remodel. Asbestos and lead, that does cost quite a bit to maintain and or to take out and make the building safe to use. 168,000. Environmental concerns include there's a fuel oil boiler. Wow, that's a whole bunch of oils. And underground tank, and that's just about 9,000. Safety and occupancy, there's a failed roof system. You can see in some of the photos that were provided, 76,000. Safety, this roof has been, so this is the second building, 60,000 for the second building. It shows that it's been basically patched over the years. More safety, interior leak roofs for the 401 building, $3,500. Interior leak damage, $500. So that's probably one of the most affordable. And then dangerous and unusable HVAC units. And it was stated that they only had a very short life expectancy of what the ones that were continuing to work. Outdated, faulty electrical, 2,500. Outdated, faulty for the other building, another 3,500. Leaking and outdated plumbing. You can see in some of these photos they provided about 19,000. And improper and inefficient rain scoopers, I think you say that, 7,500. So existing conditions that were presented to the Urban Renewal Agency included just over $700,000. And that again does not include some of those repairs that were on a couple of those first few slides. So staff believes with all of this information, the details that were provided, as well as the cost estimates that were provided, that this application should be approved for demolition. The commission does have a couple options, as you all have read. The one option is that you can move to grant that demolition permit. And after examining the review criteria, you decide that it's not in the best interest of the public to preserve the Tony's building, you can do that. Mitigation measures, as stated in some of the conditions I've got here, which includes demolition, providing pictorial, graphic details that are going to be kept at the planning department, library, or the community development department library, as well as performing any necessary archaeological assessments on any potential artifacts that are found. Another option that the commission may take is that you could move to suspend the application for demolition for a period of up to 120 days from the date of the application. If the commission determines that the suspension is in the interest of preserving historical values, if the decision is delayed, the commission provides this time to see if a program could be established to maintain and restore the structure. So this is what Chair McNary was discussing at the beginning and questioning. The third option is that the commission could move to continue the hearing and postpone a decision for today. If this option is selected, the commission definitely needs to be advised that we have a 120-day clock that is still running. And the demolition application was deemed complete on 6/25, which means that we have to render a decision, a final decision by the city, no later than 10/22/2021. So again, staff's recommendation is that we move to grant the demolition of the historic Tony's building located at 401 to 407 East 2nd, as detailed in the application 191-21, based upon findings of fact, with 2 conditions of approval. And that concludes my staff report. Do you have any questions of staff?
Hearing none from the commission at this point. All right, I'm looking around, don't see anybody.
Excuse me. Okay, sorry.
We go now, Don, to one of our city's landmarks, Josh, or who are we going to represent?
So I would ask for the proponent, and what I can do is, proponents, and then I think and then we can have opponents. Okay. And then if Ms. Christensen does not want to speak today, I can actually read, Ms. Christensen, I can read your letter if you would like to. Okay.
Thank you. I think Alice raised your hand. Are you going to be the opponent to speak?
Chair McNary and members of the commission, thank you for the opportunity. I'm representing the applicant, which would be the Columbia Gateway Urban Renewal Agency. And thank you, Don, for the very thorough report. I do not have much to add. I will say that Josh Chandler, who's one of our planners, and I walked the building this afternoon, or I guess it was this morning, late this morning, and we found some new cracks in some of the ceiling and some new some of the ceiling area had fallen, and that caused some concern. So anyway, time is ticking. This building is in a lot of disrepair. We did do some winter maintenance work just to make sure that we could preserve a safe building, and one that we repaired the electrical and a few other things just to make sure that the building could be safe for very minimum occupancy if we were to enter the building. With that in mind, our Urban Renewal Agency has been investing in this property now for about 5 years, and has initially bought the property with the intent to demolish it to make way for a mixed-use development with Tokala Properties. That deal didn't come together, and then the idea was to preserve the building. So as was detailed in the very latest slideshow presented by Dawn, a lot of work was done to look at what those costs might be and what Urban Renewal's responsibilities might be to participate with the private developer. And at that time, just deemed to be too expensive to move forward, and deemed to be more valuable to make way for to have a shovel-ready development site that could fit in and integrate well with the existing downtown character. And I do want to give our chair Gary Grossman, Urban Renewal Board Chair, Gary Grossman, who's been here a lot longer than I have, who might be able to give some history and extra words to add. But we agree with staff's recommendation and agree with the conditions of approval as established by Don. So I'll turn it over to Gary, Mr. Grossman, if he chooses.
Really, I've got nothing to add. Don covered the report and the challenges with the building. We've gone out and have had the two developers that had an interest. The cost becomes absolutely prohibitive. It's the middle of our town, and there's a lot of things that we can do in that overall space to, I think, make it a real centerpiece for the Dalles. And so I'd certainly encourage your approval. Thank you.
Anyone else want to take the mantle of being a proponent and speak up?
I will. Todd Carpenter. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Todd Carpenter, 216 East 5th Street, the Dalles, Oregon, 97058. I'm in favor of demoing. I mean, I'm not in favor of demoing any buildings, but this one certainly is dilapidated, and I don't think there's a lot of historical significance. One of the things that I know we need based on our work with the service industry is, we're losing our service industry to out of town. And when they consider moving out of town because of higher prices, they consider moving to other metro areas. So we're actually losing service industry workers to other cities and metro areas. And so I think affordable housing downtown is super important. And I'd love to see this site, hopefully per the plan for urban renewal, get something in there that's sort of ready for development for some kind of housing for our service industry and community workers down there. I think the center of town is a great area to sort of upgrade. I know they're planning a park down there and things like that, hardscape park. So I'm in favor of, as much as I hate seeing a building go, I've been in this building and it's pretty bad. The foundation is terrible and crumbling. It's worse than the pictures show. So I'm actually in favor of this plan, if my opinion matters at all.
Thank you. I don't know if we're kind of muddy water for me, in the sense that we are talking about the owners of that building and the ones that are in favor and so on and so forth. I'm more than willing to listen to anyone that wants to be in favor of this. So we'll just take it. John, I thought I seen your name, a hand up there. Do you want to speak in favor of on the proponent side?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We're here. You're there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here this afternoon to speak in favor of the request from the Gateway Urban Renewal Agency to demolish Tony's Town and Country buildings and prepare the property to be a shovel-ready for a new development. As a member of the Gateway Urban Renewal Agency Board, I've been involved in endless discussions, reviewed numerous reports and studies. I toured the building. I was in total support of the Tocola project that unfortunately was stopped due to bureaucratic agencies' red tape and regulations that came from out of Salem, which was totally out of our control. When the property was purchased back in 2016, it was bought with the intention of demolishing that building, not rehabbing it for another use. As stated in the staff report, the buildings have no historical value. Buildings are in very poor condition and in need of major repairs with roof leaks and no usable life left. And parts of the roof and ceiling are already collapsing, as I read in the 401 building. If we put off the inevitable, not demolish the building, we'll have another recreation building disaster, which we're still dealing with. In conclusion, I'm in favor of the staff recommendation with the two conditions of approval, and it's time to move forward. Thank you.
I'm looking over my available spaces here and probably missing someone, but if we can speak up later if I miss you. Right now, we're going to call for the proponents, people that want to save the building, however it costs or whatever. just because they want that building saved. Is there anyone that wants to raise up and say why and how or who they are or whatever? Please, it's kind of quiet around here.
So Chair McNary,
Yes.
I can go ahead. I know that you all have received the letter from Ms. Christensen, and she'd emailed that to most of you. I'm not sure if any of you had read that. I would say I wouldn't say I'd put her at a or an opponent. I would say it's a little bit more. She's trying to get some fact finding. And Courtney, if you would like to speak, absolutely.
If I could just jump in, that would be great. So I did submit written comments. I don't really think of myself as an opponent of the project. I think I'm more in favor of the project than I would be opposed to it. But I am literally right on top of this building. I don't know if you can see here, there's the Tony's building right there. I am in really close proximity to that lot and have a lot of concerns about public safety and livability during the demolition that I just need some reassurance about. Dawn, I hadn't really considered the fact that my written comments would need to be read into the record. If you want to do that, please feel free, but I do want to add to the comments that I already submitted, my concern about, that there's known asbestos, mold, lead, there's all kinds of dangerous materials that we already are aware of in that building. And when that building comes down, I understand that there will be remediation for those substances, but I am just going to need a lot of reassurance. So the last year when we were in the midst of our worst fires, when we had 1 million acres burning in Oregon, even with my windows totally closed, I had ash on everything. So even when the building is sealed up, and again, I'm in the Honnold building, which is right across from the Tony's building, we're going to get a lot of dust indoors, and I have a high-risk 10-year-old. So those are my concerns. I would love to have something that is more contributing to the community. I love Todd's idea of accessible housing. I just need some reassurance that this is going to be done safely for those of us who are in really close proximity. And it's Courtney Christensen, and I'm at 300 Federal Street, Unit 205.
Ma'am, I am very impressed with your letter, but I think you're outside the scope of what the Historic Landmark Commission can control.
Right.
I am very sympathetic to what you're saying, and I have every reason to believe that it'll be another commission that you will have to present that letter to for most everything that was brought up in that. Our Historic Landmark Commission, I don't think has the authority to go any farther than what we're saying. If the motion is made to demolish, someone else takes over from there and we're out of it. Am I correct, Dawn?
You are correct. And Courtney, I think you are assured that Alice Cannon, the director, and I have both read your letter, as well as Alice. I think she did talk with you earlier today. So some of these things are not in the power of this group and of the Historic Landmark Commission, and obviously would be addressed still by our department or through our department. And if Alice wants to add any more, I think, just you'll be working with one of us and or both of us to ensure that the best practices are made during demolition and ensure that everything is followed, all the regulations and laws for asbestos and lead, et cetera.
Right. So, and then can I just ask, so for clarification, if this board approves demolition today, is there already a contractor that, is it sort of signed, sealed, and delivered once this board approves the demolition? Or do they then go into negotiations for a contract for demolition?
The applicant may want to answer.
Go ahead, Dawn.
Yeah, sorry, Chair. So I believe the applicant may want to answer this question, but it's my understanding that that has not happened and that the Urban Renewal Agency has not made a selection to date. But Ms. Cannon, would you like to add to that?
Sure. Chair McNary and Ms. Christensen, we have not entered a contract with a demolition contractor yet. So what we would do, the sequence of things, the way we see it is we will after we finish, as I mentioned over the phone, we will be, before we do an invitation to bid, we will complete an archaeological investigation, because there is, as was mentioned, some thought that there may be archaeological artifacts in the basement. So I want to check that out. We'll do that checking. We'll get the necessary state permits to do that. And after that is completed, and we have, if it's deemed that there are artifacts or maybe artifacts, we'll finish all that due diligence and meet all those requirements, with the idea that we could, we have measures in place when we do the demolition to protect archaeological resources. So that's first. Then second, after that, we would put this out to bid with try to get qualified contractors to bid on the project. And after that, we will finish the negotiations with that contractor and get underway. The first part of this project will be, prior to demo, we'll be removing and testing the underground storage tank, and also removing asbestos and other hazardous materials from the building prior to demo. So that's the sequence. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
We do appreciate your comments. I want you to know that, but I tried to escape early on here. I just thought this wasn't our baby, but we're handling it fine. We're covering a lot of ground, and a lot of people are getting a chance to voice their opinion. My little list, is there anyone else that wants to speak either for or against? This is the time for them to speak in, and they can even ask a question. Hearing none, I guess we'll go
No,
back.
Bob,
Yeah.
I'm waving my hand.
Oh, I see you. Okay, you've gone for a minute. I'm glad to see you back. Yes.
No, I'm not opposed, and I totally support the need to do this. I just want to register my concern that there is a plan in the future to replace or redo the Lewis and Clark mural.
Repeat that for me.
I want to register my concern that there is something in the process or in the future that we will replace or redo the Lewis and Clark mural that's on the side of that building. That's one of the 4 big murals down in the central part of town that represent our history.
I seen that, and I've known it was there, and we had to grant permission to have it put on that side of that building, if I recall. And that wasn't an historical building, but we still had to give permission for it. I've kind of lost track of our murals and so on and so forth. So I'm glad you brought that up, Carol. So, looking around, I'm going to ask Alice again. Are you got anything further to add for being a proponent? You should have that option.
Chair McNary, nothing to add. I have been thinking about the preservation of that mural, and I believe the mural is applied to the building, so we'd have to put a mural somewhere else in the city. There may be another place to do that, and we would be open to that idea. I am not involved with any of that mural work in the community, so we in the Urban Renewal Board would be looking for assistance on the right place to discuss this.
So, Chair McNary, I was able to receive just a few minutes before or right at the meeting start an email from Mr. Scott Stevenson. And as some of you may be aware, that he is the director of the Dalles Art Center, and they together with the Mural Society did some assessments of all of our murals in downtown. And the people that did the assessments are the artist, Mr. Chris Pothier, as well as Dylan McManus. And I do have access to that report here. And Carolyn, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this report, but it does.
I am.
It's interesting to read, and I'm trying to read and run a meeting, but I was just doing a quick look over just because I had a feeling the mural question would come up. Some of the artists that are still alive had actually commented on redoing some of these murals, and if they did actually have to be taken down or they were past the point of repair, that they had actually asked, it said, as artists who are constantly evolving, we don't want to go backwards. So basically, in a nutshell, what they're saying is if it is recreated, they don't want something to be exact. They want to allow themselves for some interpretation and for something to be recreated in a current their current art thought process. So I don't know. That's obviously something. It sounds like Ms. Cannon gave us some, at least some information regarding, urban renewal getting some direction. But I guess that's something that you can add as a condition, I guess, and or just follow up, and we can see if the urban renewal agency would be able to provide or find another location to provide a future mural that would not be replicated, but potentially have some similar context, but be allowed, or the artist be allowed to use their own current artistic techniques.
We're willing to explore that possibility, absolutely. So that's something we would voluntarily discuss as a urban renewal board.
That is what it's something that goes with that building. So if the renewal agency has that building, it's their mural as far as I know. And so consequently, they're going to have to make their peace with the mural society. I don't think we got storage rights on it in any way, shape, or form. I asking if anyone else has got, any one of the commissioners, I have to remember that, have questions they would like to ask of any of these people, as far as it's kind of an open field here tonight. And if we don't, I want to close the public hearing and deliberate amongst the commissioners alone. Is there anyone else that wants to speak up and ask a question? Then we're going to declare the public part of this hearing closed, and we'll deliberate as the commission. So we've heard a lot of testimony, and it's all been remove the building. Is there anyone that wants to make a motion to authenticate that? We have option 1, 2, and 3, as you may have heard from Dawn, and we can discuss each option as a member, or we can just go ahead and say we want this option and make a motion to that extent. So it's up to us now.
Well, I think it's best for public safety to move ahead and have the building demolished. So I would like to make a motion to approve application HLC 191-21 of Columbia Gateway Urban Renewal Agency to demolish a non-contributing historic building located at 401 through 407 East 2nd Street with the two recommended conditions of approval.
I would second that motion.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion amongst the commission on this prior to calling for a vote? Hearing none, shall we raise our right hands if we are in favor of this motion to demolish the Tony's building? Is there anyone opposed? And there's nobody left, so we know that's a fictitious thing. So the motion has been passed to, you're not very happy, all of us. To pass this motion. And we thank all the people that contributed to this conversation and this decision. And now we have 2 more pieces of business that we will have to take care of. And that is our resolution. Where am I? Where am I, Dawn? Way in the back?
Whoops. Bob, I actually have them on the screen. Can you see my share screen?
Pardon?
So we're at resolutions. So number 10.
I'm trying to find it in my thick pamphlet. Oh, here it is. Here they are on the very back page, I'm sure. Very back 2 pages. So, we are looking at, resolution 179-21. Will someone make a motion that we approve this resolution with the conditions?
I'd make a motion that we approve that HLC 17921 motion.
I second it.
The conditions of approval was 8, I believe.
Correct.
Am I right, Dawn?
That is correct.
No, I'm talking and wasn't listening. Did we have a second?
Yes, Bev seconded it.
All right. If there's no further discussion, I will ask for the raising of the hand again. If we can get the screen back, in favor of this resolution 179-21. All in favor is there, so there's no need to call for anyone that's opposed to that. So that motion, that resolution has been passed. All right, historic resolution 180-21, and this is in regard to the demolition of the Tony building. And there was two recommendations of approval. Okay. Is there someone that's going to venture out and make that motion?
I make a motion that we approve resolution 180-21 with the recommendations below it.
I'll second that.
2 conditions of approval. Yes.
Very good. Is there any further discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, seeing none. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. That motion has been passed. Now I gotta go find my front page again because we got an agenda that we're following. Oop. The last line says we're adjourning. Does anyone have anything that they need to talk about on the way out the door? What are we looking at for August?
So Chair McNary, it does appear that we have an application. It will be for a slight modification to a previously approved application. So that we will be meeting. So be looking in your email for an email from me or Paula.
Did I hear you say that we could meet in chamber?
Not until September. So, and yeah, I don't think we've made that formal decision yet, or that decision's been made. That's kind of what we're anticipating is September.
Thank you.
You bet.
I want to thank everyone for helping me stumble through this, because this one here was a little different than anyone that I've attended before. I see names on here that I haven't seen on our screen before. Roger, it was good to have you here, even though you put on a little weight since that photograph was taken. I hate to mention that, Roger. But is there anyone else got to say anything before I attain? So I beg for a motion to adjourn.
I will say one quick thing, Bob. Don, I will volunteer to help with recording those things for you. If that would be your, okay.
Awesome. I have your name and number and email. I'll get a hold of you. Thank you.
You bet.
Todd, it was good to see you here tonight. Now it's not too good to see you. So you moved too close to your camera. There we go. Anyway,
Thanks for all your hard work. We appreciate you guys.
Are we adjourning? Forrest, make a motion that we adjourn.
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
I second the motion.
It's unanimous and approved. Okay, thank you all.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Good
Bye,
night.
everybody. Good
Night.
night. Good job, Don, everybody. I didn't say much. What was that last thing you guys